Hello again and welcome back to our course on Adobe Photoshop Elements 15. In this section I'd like to describe the structure of the course and to tell you a little bit more about how I'm recording it and how I suggest that you follow the course. The course is arranged into chapters, and within each chapter there's a number of sections, and generally speaking each section is 15 minutes or less in duration. One or two of them do sometimes get a little bit longer than that, but not very much. If you're new to PSE, I suggest you work through the course pretty much in the sequence in which I've prepared and am presenting it to you. I hope it's a logical sequence, and it probably won't help you at all in the early stages, and particularly if you're new to PSE, if you skip forward too much. Because in each section I'm going to assume that you know the material that's contained in the earlier sections. Now, as I mentioned before, if you've used PSE before, there may be various aspects of its use that you're very familiar with and that haven't significantly changed in this version. I am going to try to introduce each section by giving you a quick outline of what we're going to cover. And so if it is material that you're already very familiar with, you should be able to judge whether you can skip that section or not. And another point really for more experienced users is that I am going to cover the organizer as part of the course. For those of you who are new, you may be a little bit surprised that I might not be covering the organizer as part of the course, but there are many users of Photoshop Elements who don't use the organizer at all, or at least they use it in a very limited kind of way. And for many people, they're not really particularly interested in developing their use of the organizer. Most of the sections that cover the organizer are easily identifiable, and if you don't want to use it, it should be straightforward for you to skip those sections. During the course I'll be using quite a lot of images, and most of them were taken by me. They were taken normally using one of three cameras, either the camera on an iPhone, a compact camera or a digital SLR. And each of those images is in the course files folder that you have access to as part of the course material. Now make sure you know where that material is, make sure you know where those images are, because if you want to do work on those yourself, or perhaps reproduce what I've done, or even improve on what I've done in some cases, they're the starting point that you can use for trying out various things. I should point out in my own defense that in most cases where the images are of poor quality, they are deliberately of poor quality, the idea being that during the course I'm going to show you how to improve images that need, shall we say, a little bit of work done on them. Apart from the course files folder, there is an exercise files folder, and this contains my sample answers to the various exercises that I'll be setting you during the course. It also contains some other files that you will need for some of the exercises. Once again, make sure you know where these files are. I suggest that for both course files and exercise files you keep a backup copy of the originals in case you need to go back to those at any point during the course. I already pointed out to you that I'll primarily be using keyboard and mouse on this course. I'm recording it on a Windows 10 PC. If you're a Windows PC user, then there will be very little difference between this and Windows 7 or Windows 8 or 8.1. If you're a Mac user, you'll need to make the usual adaptations that you would make if you wanted to use a Mac to follow a course that's actually been recorded on a Windows device. One other thing I should point out here is that over the last few versions of PSE, Adobe have gradually been improving their own learning materials. They're not particularly extensive, and most of the subjects that are covered in quite a summary way. But in general terms, if you want some additional learning material, I would refer you to the Adobe Photoshop Elements Learn section. So if you'd like some additional material to follow to back up what you're covering on this course, I would recommend that as well. And in addition, don't forget that as part of the course we provide a set of quiz questions so that you'll be able to check later on just how much you've learnt about PSE 15. And perhaps the one other thing to mention is that I do suggest that you get a collection of your own photos together at this stage and before we really get started. And even if you do follow through what I'm doing on the images that are provided as part of the course files, in many cases you'll be able to try those out on your own images as well. So why not get a collection of images together now with either a selection of problems or perhaps ones that you'd like to make even better than they are already. That's it really on the introductory material at last. In the next section we're going to start up PSE 15 and start using it. I'll see you then.